I went to one.
Nice to see you.
Turn in the stuff.
Oh, I did.
Get it done? You have it in here.
Get everybody to please stand, and we'll have our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, again, we thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to come and serve in this capacity. Lord, I pray that you just grant us wisdom here tonight. I ask that you bless each commissioner that's here and each citizen that's here. Lord, I just ask for your blessings on our county, on our state, and our nation. Lord, we need your will here tonight, not ours. Lord, we ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. The first item is the approval of the agenda. Any modifications? I know we have one consent item that needs to be pulled. And Heather?
Yeah. Item 15 just needs to be pulled for discussion. There's an exhibit to the contract that was included that needs to be switched out before you approve it.
Okay, and we've given you the correct copy. All the commissioners have that in front of them, so we'll do that. That'll be pulled. Any other changes? I need to make a brief presentation under awards and presentations. It'll only take a couple minutes. I hear a motion to approve.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the awards and presentations. Update regarding United Way of the Big Bend, Mark Dickerson. Come on, sir.
Good evening, commissioners and fellow citizens of Wakulla County. My name is Mark Dickerson. I'm the United Way of the Big Bend staffer that's facilitating the campaign here in Wakulla County, and I'm also a citizen of Wakulla County, so thank you very much for having me here this evening. Our campaign is currently running. The campaign leadership team, headed by our campaign chairman this year, who is Commissioner Brock, has set a goal of $90,000, which is an increase over what was raised last year, and it helps support the 24 agencies of the United Way of the Big Bend that serve our fellow citizens here in Wakulla County. There are agencies that have a presence up in Leon County, from which they serve our fellow citizens down here, such as 211 Big Bend, the Crisis and Information Referral Hotline, which is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with trained counselors, and has over 1,000 resources they can refer our fellow citizens to if they have issues such as housing or education or just whatever you could possibly imagine. Also, Second Harvest of the Big Bend, which helps some of our food banks down here and also helps feed citizens and has collection points and does an excellent job for us. Also, the Capital Area Community Action Agency, which is one of the more recent agencies to help serve our citizens down here. And I see that Ms. Inman Johnson of that agency is here in the audience today. There are also agencies that have a local physical presence. Those would include, among others, Big Bend Hospice and Big Brothers Big Sisters. They have recently opened an office in the past year. It's a part-time office at this time that we're hoping to find enough funding to make it into a full-time. And I have a representative from Big Brothers Big Sisters here, Ms. Stacey Harvey, and she'll come up and say a few words about Big Brothers Big Sisters.
I wrote down my notes because I don't do that well off the top of my head. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you to Mark for asking Big Brothers to be a part of his presentation. My name is Stacey Harvey, and I'm the program coordinator for Big Brothers Big Sisters here in Wakulla County. Just to kind of start with a little bit of information about Big Brothers Big Sisters in general, our vision is that all children achieve success in life, and we work to provide that success by providing children facing adversity and with strong and enduring, professionally supported one-to-one relationships that change their lives for the better forever. Big Brothers Big Sisters works with parents, volunteers, and others in the community and hold ourselves accountable for each child in our program to achieve higher aspirations, grow greater confidence in better relationships, avoid risky behaviors, and have educational success. I became a part of Big Brothers Big Sisters in March when their community-based program expanded into Wakulla County. I've been working since then to grow our list of both volunteers or mentors and children. For each child on the waiting list, I need about 4 to 5 volunteers in order to make a strong match, looking at both similar interests, common interests, and preferences for both the volunteer and the child and their families. I currently have a ratio of about 1 to 1 volunteer for every child. That means that the need for mentors is huge. Our school district here is currently looking at Big Brothers Big Sisters to oversee their school-based mentoring program. With this is going to come many more children that will be referred to our agency, as well as a greater continuing need for mentors. We hope to have this additional program in place in the coming weeks. We have paperwork in the process of being looked at and approved and kind of going back and forth with it. And if you will, take some time just to kind of think about these questions. What if every child in Wakulla County fulfilled their potential? What if every child achieved academic success? How would our community be transformed if every child achieved success in life? That's what Big Brothers Big Sisters is working towards. And if I can give a quick plug on an upcoming fundraiser that we have, the Big Catch Fish Fry is going to be held Tuesday, November 8th at Posey's Dockside in Panacea from 5:30 to 8:30. Tickets are $10 per person, and if you are interested in purchasing a ticket or becoming a sponsor, you can reach me at 850-366-3865. Information in regards to the fundraiser is also available at bbbs.org/bigbash.
Okay.
Sorry.
Stacy, is the need for male mentors still your biggest need?
Yeah, I mean, I would say everything across the board, but in general, from what I understand, being somewhat a newcomer for Big Brothers, it will always be, I will be looking for more men than women.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now regarding the economic impact of United Way of the Big Bend. I mentioned that the goal this year is to raise $90,000. Last year, approximately $80,000 was raised, but as you'll see from the allocation table I've got there, and I'm sorry it's a little small, but we received from United Way of the Big Bend for the 24 agencies here in the county $118,000. That's due to additions and designations. So we actually received back more than was raised here in the county. And that's an excellent process. And that money is distributed not by the board of United Way, not by the president of United Way, but by community members. They call it a community investment team. And anyone here in the audience, anyone out there in TV land could volunteer to be on the community investment team, and after receiving presentations from each of the agencies that's requested funding, they make the determination on how to allocate the funds. So as you can see, $118,000 distributed among 24 agencies to be used to provide human services that touch the lives of our fellow citizens here in the county is a strong economic impact. And Stacy is a good example of that. Big Brothers Big Sisters was able to open their office on a part-time basis, and she is a Wakulla County citizen being employed by an agency here in the county. So that's pretty much what I've got for you this evening. I would like to ask for your personal support as well as those in the audience and out there in TV land, and I can answer hopefully any questions you may have at this time.
Did Ms. Johnson, did you have anything to say about your agency that you...
I was next on.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you.
I just want to add that I have been a part of the combined federal campaign and United Way for almost 40 years, and I've never had a doubt about the money being spent wisely in the area that you designate it to, and that's what people out there that are listening need to understand, is that if they give it the state through their state job or whatever job they're at, that they need to designate it to Wakulla County, and then it gets used here in Wakulla County.
Yes,
that's the most important part, and it goes for a good cause in many different areas that you have listed up there as well. So I'm a big supporter, and I urge the citizens to support it as well. Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next is the presentation regarding impact budget cuts we'll be having on services. Dorothy Inman Johnson, Executive Director, Capital Area Community Action Agency.
Good evening. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I had asked to be placed on the agenda because we were looking at some major projections and federal dollars being cut from the budget to serve the counties that we serve. And I don't know if you know, but the money that we receive doesn't go to Capital Area Community Action Agency to use as it pleases. The money is allocated by county with a clear tracking of those dollars being spent in that county. So even though I am not a resident of Wakulla counties, we serve 8 counties, the people who work in the office that we have established here in Wakulla County on Crescent next to TCC are all for Wakulla County residents, and we are one of the few nonprofits serving Wakulla from outside of the county that have 5 days a week office hours with fully staffed offices for the residents of Wakulla County. Now, we are going to get into some difficulty with the cuts that are being projected at the federal level because for the LIHEAP program, it was projected to be cut 50% by the federal government. You cannot operate a full-time office with a 50% cut in funds. Also, the weatherization stimulus dollars that we took over and have been the provider for here in Wakulla County, those dollars in February 2012. So that huge influx of money to do energy efficiency measures for homes of low-income, elderly, disabled, and families with children will no longer exist after the end of February of next year. The regular weatherization program is such a small program that instead of almost $1 million per county to do the work as with the stimulus that put a lot of contractors to work and allowed them to maintain jobs for the people they had hired, that regular program will go down to about $300,000 a year for all 6 of the counties, which is a third, less than a third of what Wakulla got just in the weatherization aura for your county for weatherization. And so I wanted to come and share kind of a state of the state report with you on what's been done so far. Wakulla received an allocation of $944,693 that was turned over to our agency to do weatherization in the county last October. Since then, we have expended all except $310,644 providing services to your residents. We could have done a total of 138 homes with that. We have so far completed 97. We have 41 more to go in order to deplete those dollars and not have to turn a penny back at the end of February and have all of that money go to help the residents of this county. For the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Fund, we received $145,000 to do utility assistance for your residents when we were asked to take over LIHEAP on March 1st of this year. That money has to last until the end of March next year. That's when the next funding comes from the federal government. And so far, your citizens have had have had almost $100,000 in utilities paid for them because we now have a balance of about $50,000 left to take us through March 2012 to help people with their utility assistance in Wakulla. And just recently, when the senior center decided that the small amount of the allocation for community service block grant was not sufficient to allow them to continue to manage that program, BCA also asked if we would step in and provide those services, since we already had an operational office and we were already delivering the other 2 federal programs in this county. Unfortunately, the senior center was correct. This county only will receive this year, unless more money is put into community service block grant, will only receive $20,000. That's supposed to pay for all kinds of basic needs for Wakulla citizens, like rental assistance to prevent homelessness and eviction, vouchers for transportation, vouchers for food, prescription drugs, and other things to help people take care of their most urgent needs. So I'm here to give you the state of the state report. We were able to hire 5 additional contractors in Wakulla County, people who live in Wakulla and are doing business in Wakulla, renovating houses under our weatherization program. In February, some of those contractors will have to go away because the funds won't be there anymore unless something else happens in Washington. I was explaining as I'm going around that when you talk about these big budget cuts in the abstract up in Washington, it's not clear to the public what the impact is going to be on the lives of the people in their community if they make 50% cuts in the budget. I am therefore, as I've been going around, asking each county or city commission that I've spoken with if they would be willing to send a letter to our congressional delegation and to the president indicating the devastating impact a 50% cut in both community service block grant and the low-income home energy assistance program will do to this community and the needs of the community. We have received letters or resolutions from all of the counties that we serve so far, and if the county commission is so inclined to assist in that way, we would be happy to attach and email to you copies of some of the resolutions and letters that have been sent from the other counties so that you might have a template to fashion a letter from Wakulla County from. That's the takeaway I'm asking for tonight, because for our programs, these federal programs require that for every $4 we receive in federal funding in each of these counties, we have to raise $1 match. In some of our counties, the match is done, for instance, in Calhoun County, by providing free space in their courthouse for our office. That matches the federal dollars we're bringing into the county. In this county, we applied for United Way assistance, and that would have been used for our match on the federal dollars, the contribution we are required to get to match the dollars that we spend in this county. And if you can help us by sending a letter or resolution to our congressional delegation for Wakulla County and the president indicating that a 50% cut in both the low-income home energy assistance program and the community service block grant program for those basic needs for your citizens would be devastating to this community, we would really appreciate it, and we'll be happy to submit to you anything you need to fashion that letter or resolution.
Okay.
With that, I thank you.
Thank you for the report. As dismal as it may be, I think we can. I don't see any reason why we can't do that if you guys direct me to.
I'd like to
send
see the
such a letter.
language, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. If you could send us the sample language, we can have it drafted up and put on the consent agenda.
Now, you can put whatever language in. It could be as short or as long as you want. We will just send you some copies of what some of the other counties have done so that you can decide what you want to put in yours.
I think short is good because they may read that, but we need some good facts that you mentioned here tonight so that they understand the ramification of such a change. I think that's important, that they really see the dollars figure. So if it's all right with the board, then we'll work in that direction. And is that okay? We'll do it.
And we'll also send you your poverty, your most recent poverty figures. What we found as we've been doing the others is they think that the 15.1% national poverty rate is sky high, and it's higher nationally than it's been in decades. But what we're learning that in our counties, that rate is a lot higher. For instance, in Leon County is 24.1, which is almost a 5.4% increase. It's 21.5 over the national rate. And in Wakulla, yours is in the high teens, so that would put you pretty far over the national poverty rate too. So we will provide you those exact numbers also so that that could be included in your letter or resolution.
Okay. So David, can we get you to assign somebody from staff to work with Ms. Johnson and put something together for the board to see? And okay, we'll do it, Ms. Johnson. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I can get Tim Barden to come up, please. On behalf of the board, Tim, come on up here. We're not gonna, you thought you were off the hook last meeting, but we're not through with you yet. I want to, on behalf of the board, give you this plaque. Let me read it. Certificate of Appreciation presented to Timothy P. Barden for the dedicated service as Interim County Administrator from December 1st, 2010 to September 30th, 2011. Presented on this day, October 3rd, 2011. I want to say that I appreciate the hard work you put into this. You were handed as Randy puts it, a dog mess, and you worked hard, and I don't think anybody in the public can appreciate it. I can, because I've been right alongside of you the whole time, and I know this board can because they've been right there with you. But the mess that you had to uncover and move aside and do the right things to get us back on track, you did. It wasn't easy. You had to lay people off. You had to do furloughs. You had to cut the budget. You had to ask all the other constitutional officers to cut their budget. And so you weren't the most popular guy on the block. It's probably a good thing you still live in Leon County. But with all that said, I greatly appreciate what you have done for this county in this 10 months. And you're not going to be missed because you're still going to be here as part of the staff. And I know David's going to use your expertise. If he doesn't, he'd be silly. But I want to thank you on behalf of the board for your dedicated service.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Okay, all items except item 15 that's been
Correct.
pulled.
Second.
Okay, and a second. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll hear item 15.
Commissioners, item 15 is the scrap agreement with DOT for the widening and resurfacing of approximately 3.6 miles, I believe, of Raywinkle Road from State Road 30 to County Road 369. The reason this got pulled is the Exhibit A that is in your agenda is not the correct Exhibit A. The Exhibit A that should be there is what we passed out to you today. You have in front of you. It is a description of the project, a map of where it's going, and the engineer's opinion of probable cost. The Exhibit A that's included in your agenda is a separate task order for design and surveying that is also being requested for approval, but we just needed to make that correction to the contract so that the correct documents are attached to it.
And this is a state grant, scrap, paving to resurface the road. So I'll make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the chairman to execute the scrap agreement for Nickel Road and approve the Provost Task Order 1193 for engineering services.
Second.
Motion to approve and seconded. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We just add quickly that this, because DOT in Chipley District 3 has been trying to help us here in Wakulla, they moved this project ahead a whole year. This wasn't supposed to be funded until the next fiscal year. And they called me and said, would I have a problem with moving this up? And I said, that's a stupid question, but no, we'd love to have the money. So they got busy and got it approved, and we should be able to move forward now. And hopefully I'm hoping November we'll start seeing work going on.
And Cleve, if there's, I don't know if there's any way to do it, but if there's any way to get the reflectors somehow in this project, I'd personally like to see that. And we'll make sure it's thermoplastic striping so it doesn't wear out quickly.
Mr. Stewart, I know you're ready for this one to get going. We anticipate 3 weeks to get the survey. We'll have a design turned around in about 4 weeks, and then we will begin the process of advertising and selecting a contractor.
So end of November.
End of November, early December.
Okay, we'll hold you to it.
Hold me to it.
All right.
2012,
This year.
huh?
Yeah. No, 11. Oh, don't even try it, Randy.
May I ask a question? I know Emmett Whaley was considered at one point, and that road was going to be widened. Is this one going to be widened?
Yes.
How much more?
The plan is to widen it 2 feet each lane.
Okay.
It'll be a much better road. But what happens now is the school buses rut it out so because there's so many turns on it, that this will really help. So,
Alan, it says 12-inch lime rock base widening. To me, that indicate a foot on each side, but you say it's 2 feet on each side?
That may be
That's okay.
indicating the depth. I'm sorry. I thought we were taking that road from 20 to 24.
That'd be
well,
nice.
if we get 22, that'll be
Yes.
a whole lot better. But if we get 24, that'll really be nice.
Yes.
We'll squeeze every bit of it we can, I can
Okay.
promise you.
And one more quick point, just because I've been down this road before. On the narrower roads, if we use a 4-inch stripe versus a 6-inch stripe, it makes a big difference in the travel lane because the spacing between the lines. It happened on Smith Creek Highway and use those. 6 is the standard, but you can use 4 on a rural road, and just maybe remember that.
And we can also, that's also saves money on striping, and we can also put the reflectors down the middle of the center stripes.
Just
Yeah,
get a
there you
lot
go.
more travel.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, next is the planning and zoning items. These are quasi-judicial procedures, and is both of them quasi-judicial, 9 and 10?
All
Or 11.
3 of them are, yes,
Okay,
9,
so number
10,
9
and
first
11.
is the item is request board ratification and confirmation of the unrecorded zoning ordinances historically adopted. I need a motion to do so, or
Make a motion to conduct public hearing, adopt the ratification of the unrecorded zoning ordinances based on the recommendation of the Planning Commission. Finding of facts includes a law made by the board and any evidence submitted at the hearing herein, and adopt the staff recommendation.
okay.
Second.
Second by Mr. Brock. Okay.
Okay, before we begin, each commissioner needs to disclose any contact that they may have received from interested parties or their representatives or any lobbyists concerning this application, or any personal investigation or knowledge you're relying upon today, if any.
None on this one.
No.
I spoke with staff.
Anyone who is going to be testifying or providing information today, please stand up. Raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. That's all the procedural matters. You could open
Just
the public
quick
hearing.
discussion. These are just items that were, I guess this is basically procedural. When these were adopted in the past, and I think we should just go ahead and, if there's any controversy, but
They're housekeeping items. Melissa, you can jump in. They were rezonings that were approved quite some time ago. But for whatever reason, the ordinances themselves were never executed and recorded correctly nor transferred to the Department of State. And so what we are doing now is bringing those ordinances back, asking them to be ratified at this point so that they can be documented properly. This came up when they were in the process of going from paper maps to GIS and discovered these. Also, there are some more that will be coming in the future.
Melissa, you need to just briefly state your qualifications, and we'll just do this once for all of them, but do that for me.
Okay, I am a graduate of Wakulla High School. Also have a Bachelor of Science degree from Florida State University, specializing in social science with an emphasis on urban and regional planning, and have been employed with Wakulla County's Planning and Zoning Division for 10 years.
I was going to say some of these were adopted when I was in high school, but I didn't quite make it. But they are mostly in 86 and 87, so they're pretty old.
And that's correct. All 5 of these before you this evening were adopted in the 1980s.
So this is a cleanup item we're requesting.
Okay. No public comment on this? Okay.
Do you have an estimate for how many more of these we're going to see?
There are 15 more. We discovered 20 total.
Wow.
Okay. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Second item is to request board approval of a corrective zoning ordinance amending zoning ordinance number 1995-26. I hear a motion.
So moved to conduct final public hearing to adopt the corrective zoning ordinance to correct zoning ordinance 1995-26 based on the recommendation of the Planning Commission and find that facts and conclusions of the law made by the board and evidence submitted at the hearing hereon, and adopt the staff, what is it, report? Heather, what's the wording?
Staff report is fine.
Staff report, that we won't have to go over the whole thing.
Okay. Do I hear a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Brock.
Again, if you have any ex parte communications relevant to this item,
No.
this again is this is actually correcting a Scribner's error in a zoning ordinance that was discovered. They requested to be changed from Ag to RR5, and instead it got recorded as changed from RR5 to Ag.
Yes,
Is that correct?
there was a request to change the zoning from RR5 to Ag.
Okay.
Very similar zoning districts, and they just accidentally switched them in the drafting of the ordinance.
Do we need to swear her in again?
I remind you, you're still sworn in if there's anybody else here to speak on this matter.
Okay.
No.
Ms. Arts?
Are there any tax implications for this?
To the best of my knowledge, there should not be.
Any other comments? All for the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the last planning and zoning item is number 11, application for change of zoning R11-03, TFB Holdings, Inc. and Beth Taff as trustees of the Alita Lawhon Family Trust, owners Darren Bridges as the agent.
Thank you, Mr. I will just ask for ex parte communications on this item again, and then I will actually let Melissa start the staff report on this. There's a little bit more here, and she might want to put a few things in the record for your consideration, or any commissioners have received any communications from landowners or third parties or lobbyists or their agents, or if you've done any personal investigation, please briefly disclose for the record.
I talked with the Sonogram, Mr. Robert, and I talked with the agent back in the back, Danny Robinson.
I, too, talked to Ms. Robinson. I talked to Scott Gaby. I talked to Maxie. And that's all the communication I've had.
I spoke with staff. I'm very familiar with the piece of property. I spoke with one of the realtors and some citizens who were concerned about it in the community. And I had an email which I have forwarded to Jessica. And I thought I had a second one, but I cannot find it. I'll continue to look.
Spoke to Darren Bridges and Waterley. Roberts.
I'm familiar with the site, and I received an email. Also looked through all the attachments.
Okay, if you have any emails, if you guys could get those to Jessica, that would be proper. If there's anyone aside from staff who's already sworn in who may testify to this matter, please stand up.
If you put a card in to speak on this item, you need to stand up.
You don't have, if attorneys, you don't really have to, but that's okay. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Okay.
All right, this application for change of zoning is file R11-03. TFP Holdings, Inc. and Beth Taff as trustee of the Aliyah Lahan Family Trust are the owners, and Darren Bridges is acting as the agent. The current zoning for this property is C2, which is a general commercial district, and the applicants are requesting a change to the RSU1 district, which is a residential district. It's 9.76 acres, and this is located on the east and west sides of Commodore Place, directly behind Ace Hardware. These lots, as you can sort of see on the overhead there, are actually 20 lots of the Commodore Common subdivision. The Planning Commission considered this request at their September 12, 2011 public hearing. Several citizens had submitted letters of opposition and spoke against the application at that time. The Planning Commission did in turn vote unanimously to recommend denial of the request. The future land use designation for the property is Urban 2, and it should be noted that most of these existing lots do comply with the proposed RSU1 zoning district's minimum lot width and size. However, there are 3 that are on the east side there that are actually about each 10 feet short from meeting the minimum requirements of the requested zoning district. The lots do, however, meet the existing C2 lot standards that are in place now. The flood zone for the entire property is Zone C, which puts it at risk for minimal flooding. The proposed RSU1 zoning district is consistent with the future land use map designation and some of the surrounding parcel zonings. The notice for this public hearing appeared in the Wakulla News on August the 25th, 2011, and the Planning Department has received several written responses and calls regarding this request. One other thing I wanted to mention is that this property does fall within the area recently approved for the conceptual Crawfordville Town Plan. The east side of the property with those lots there is actually listed conceptually for high residential. And then the ones on the west or the left side that you see highlighted there are actually part of the town center, and those are suggested for retail, restaurants, and mixed use. And the proposed RSU1 district is more standard single-family detached homes that do not necessarily meet with that conceptual plan, but that is just conceptual at this point.
Well, let me interject 1 second. So, if they were proposing to only rezone the ones on the right-hand side of that road, that would be consistent with the town plan? Is that what you're saying? Or it would not?
In my personal opinion, I don't believe it would be consistent with high-density residential. I think more townhomes and apartments for a high-density residence. And mixed use, right, that on the other side there. And it's kind of hard to see because it is small, but there is a C2 zoned property there to the northeast of the subject property. That's actually the location of the U.S. Forest Service office. And should the zoning for these highlighted lots ultimately change to a residential, it would kind of leave that C2 as a little island all by itself. So the recommendation is option 2, coming from the Planning Commission as the local planning agency. Their recommendation was for denial.
Okay, Heather, do we need to get a motion on the floor before we go any further? Or can we hear this?
It's at your discretion. You can wait until you hear what the people have to say before you do a motion.
Either way, I'm happy to make a motion if you want one.
Well, let's wait. Let's hear these folks. If that's okay, is that all right with everybody? Chuck Hess.
Chuck Hess, 112 Lake Ellen Circle. I was here for the first time this came up. You know, this is one of the few areas inside of Crawfordville where you have a place to make a walkable commercial district where people can, you can have a shop center, a large complex. One of the things that we need is a walkable town center. This is one of the few places you've got left to do that. I would hesitate to put this into residential housing when you have a good place for doing commercial activity. So I would suggest you deny this. Thank you.
Okay. Maxie Lahan.
I've always wanted to follow a cowboy up here, but this whole thing, if you'll look at it, that was a pretty big development in the beginning. The master plan overall included the Winn-Dixie, the McDonald's, all of that up there, and then this followed it up. I think we screwed up. I say we, the family, and the county for approving the C2 where it's at. We've had the C2 for 10 years. It has not sold. It will not sell. Any one of you up there want to put in a business, you're not going to put it on a back street. You're going to put it out on the main thoroughfare. And this is an example why, because it's just not going to sell. It has not, and it will not. So I ask that if you will consider changing it back to residential.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Darren Bridges.
As you said, I'm the agent for TFB and the Alita Lahan Family Trust in this matter. A little bit of history that wasn't given in this. The lots were originally platted in 2002 as Commodore Commons lots 1 through 20. The remaining lots on this plat, which are lots 21 through 36, are all residential lots. So the remaining portion of that plat, Commodore Commons, are residential properties. These lots all have infrastructure currently in place, including county-maintained roads, water, and sewer. And as Mr. Lahan just pointed out, 9 years they've sat there, developed, waiting on commercial entities to buy these lots and develop them into commercial sites, and that has not happened. One other interesting thing, the C2 zoning that's currently there provides for a joint use with single family and commercial on each one of these half-acre sites. So a single structure or two structures can be built on each one of these half-acre lots. As long as there is an ongoing commercial activity, a single family dwelling can be occupied on each one of these lots. I think these lots offer a unique opportunity to provide affordable, quality site-built housing in downtown Crawfordville within walking distances of the multiple businesses that are right there at that hub. You've got shopping, you have restaurants, you have hardware store, you have all of that that's right there within walking distance for these property owners. Our plan, if you choose to rezone this to residential, is to build energy-efficient, single-family detached homes ranging from 1,200 feet to 2,000 feet. Side entry, two-car garages on all of them. These are all half-acre sites. We're not looking to increase the density at all on this project. And I've received, I had to notice everybody within 500 feet. I've received no negative calls to me personally. I understand that there may have been some objection to this, but nobody's called me personally and raised an objection. But I've received multiple 25, 30 calls from landowners in that 500-foot radius that did not know these lots were zoned commercial, first, and second, we're happy to hear that they were, and that somebody was trying to get them to zoned residential, because in that little hub there, it is all residential except for the Forest Service building. So,
Okay.
any questions for me?
Not at this point. We may ask you back up later.
Okay, thanks.
Jane Robinson?
After speaking to several people over the last couple of weeks, I do understand that you wanted to make this part of a town center commercial area. But as it's been said, these lots have been available commercial for over 9 years. They've been sitting there developed, and there's been no interest. Within the last year, 6 months, for 6 months, these properties were marketed at $178,000 for 17 lots. That equates to $10,500 a lot for a commercial half-acre lot in downtown Crawfordville, and there was no interest. We see an opportunity to change this. If the rezoning of these lots would be allowed, the investor and the builder can move forward with their project, and this means more revenue for the county, and it also means more jobs right now. We can continue on our path keeping this commercial in hopes that in the next couple of years somebody will step up and possibly build commercial, but with the track record I don't see that happening, and we'd like to be able to develop this area. Thank you.
Mary Ellen Davis?
Good evening, Commissioners. I represent Bush Fire Services Incorporated. They own this piece right here. They leased that piece to the United States Department of Agriculture Forestry Service. They've had that tenant for 10 years. They don't want to lose them. They've put a letter in your package, I think, that you all have, and I'm not going to go over that too much, but this change would be inconsistent with the trend of development and the current plan development for Crawfordville, including the Crawfordville Town Plan. The results of your residential needs analysis shows that the amount of acreage currently available for residential construction exceeds the need through 2020 and estimates only 3,043 residential units would be needed between 2020 and 2030, and concluded we have absolutely no more need for residential development until after 2020. Our commercial property owners need to keep their tenants, and they need to keep their property values up. This property was purchased for value, which included being surrounded by commercial development, and was purchased from the family who is trying to now rezone. The rezoning will devalue the property and devalues the use for both the owner and the tenant of the commercial property. Bush Fire Service strongly believes that if their tenant, the U.S. Department of Forestry, becomes surrounded by residential property, they may relocate. Bush Fire Service will suffer a loss of diminished property value of adjacent properties and will lose, may lose their commercial zoning, and it may become, their property itself may become zoned residential. They're concerned about that. They're asking that the board not change it. Also, they've pointed out that a lot of times residential persons around and other residents then tend to want to further constrict the commercial uses because of, they are disruptive to residential properties. Your commercial needs analysis concludes that you should create higher density urban area in Crawfordville to reduce sprawl. You do have needs for additional commercial needs based on our current population. If you build residences, you will employ for the construction only. If you build a commercial building, you employ for construction, and then you can employ on into the future. How long have you been employing people in ACE? 16 years. So he's employed people over years. We've all employed people. I'm often been the property rights person. I own business here, but we worked hard on that Crawfordville Town Center. We bought into it. We recognize that sometimes there's sacrifices for the good of the whole that the individual property owner has to make. And that they're small when overall it'll benefit everybody. I hate to see us push the panic button yet. There's not much at all that's been selling in the last 10 years. And I can envision a really nice shopping community with townhouses above where people would live. And yes, if I could live someplace above my business, I'd pick it up and move it over there. I'd buy a lot, if I could, and build. It just takes a little vision.
Thank you. Your time's up.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Walter Roberts.
Let me come and speak. I own this property all the way down to this corner here, all the way through here, this drive here. We got an auto parts place, auto car lot here with a garage, with a guard dog. Then this part here is Wakulla gas, which is fucking LP gas here. Got a garage here. This here is a storage facility with rent cars in it. You got a termite place here. You got a garage, lawnmower shops down here. All of this within 150 or 100 foot of yards of this property over here where you're talking about rezone. Spoke with the Williams brothers, and they're very concerned about this being changed on that. I thought, after I moved here, my store sits in here, there's a vacant lot there I keep there open for parking the employees. I come off the highway and they use this back entrance here. So I purchased 16 years ago, maybe not that long ago, from the TAD Properties, additional strip in here to give me expansion room and support, give me a little bit of for my business and buffer it a little bit. Since then, I have, the store sits here, I have built a machine shop in here. We work night shifts sometimes, and there's noise, lights. You've got a house built here right next to my machine shop, and I'm going to get complaints. They don't have complaints with dog parking. It's just a house backed up to a business. I don't see where it would hardly work.
Walter, can I get you to come up here to the mic? We need to record as much of this as we can.
Speaking of jobs, if you could have just 2 businesses to build on those lots, would employ from here on whatever. A lot better than you talking about a 6-week contractor coming in and using a sub for 6 to 8 weeks, and they're gone. There's more jobs there. So I feel like the future to build for jobs would be to try to get some businesses in here. Now, I also own a buffer up right behind Rascal's Auto. I could clear that, and that would open that area up right away. But it does meet in the town planning where you could have some commercial in downtown. When I purchased that, we were promised that Commodore was a commercial subdivision for businesses, and that's what purpose we purchased it for. So I'm asking you to decline it.
Okay, thank you. Lead along.
I'm Alita Lawhon from Sopchoppy. Well, I think I keep hearing about the town plan. I think we were about 10 and 14 years ahead of the town plan when we planned this subdivision like we did, and we envisioned people being able to ride their golf cart to Winn-Dixie, or to the doctor's office. Well, that didn't happen. the doctor's offices and attorneys and everybody else wanted to move north, and everybody wants to be on the highway. Nobody wants to be there. And my sister-in-law and I are paying $600 a year taxes on those lots, and can't do anything with them. We can't sell them. And my realtor had told me that she could possibly sell them if they were residential, and that's exactly why we were asking to get them changed to residential. Now, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bob Danzy?
I got a card and there wasn't no bill.
Citizens to be heard. Okay. Okay. Any?
I've got something.
Okay, go ahead, Jerry.
I probably won't be able to shop at Ace Hardware anymore, but I'm going to do what I feel right, regardless of what the consequence may be. Addressing the walkable, talkable, the only way you're going to have walkable, talkable here in Wakulla is to take the cars away from the people, or you're going to have people who don't have cars. That gets you walkable, because the only way that people are going to walk to a shopping go to a shopping center, they're going to drive there and get as close as they can to it. I'm a commercial developer. I would not buy a commercial piece of property here unless I was putting a garage on it or something of that nature. But as far as a retail establishment, you couldn't give me that lot to put a retail establishment on it, because nobody's going to see you, and if you spend $500,000 on your building and your inventory and nobody can see you, you're up the creek. These lots have been on the market for a long time. They haven't sold. There's no demand. There's no demand for a commercial lot, more or less behind Ace Hardware or behind anybody. If these lots were out on the front on 319, they'd be a hot property. But when you set them in behind, you've not got anything. If you tried those people to the left of Ace Hardware there, that front 319, if you tried to probably give them those C2 lots on the back, they would probably not take them, because they would lose their visibility on 319. In the neighborhood as it stands, the adjacent neighborhood is of several different residential qualities. You've got a multi-use plan, you have an R3 multiple family, you have a townhome in that area, you have single family in that area, you have urban in that area. Even the comments here on our planning commission, even though they vetoed this, they did say in their summary that the RSU1 is compatible with the comprehensive plan land use. If it's compatible with the land use, how can C2 not be incompatible? You got a conflict there. Our town plan that's not in effect yet basically says that there will be a dividing line going down that street with residential on one side and commercial on the other. That's a mess in the making. You don't really combine commercial and residential any more than you have to. But this here again, this has been on the market forever. It was, somebody had a era when they put this thing together and put C2 in when you're not visible. Industrial would have been a better idea for that, because industrial you don't have to see your customers don't see you. But I'm going to vote to have this accepted.
Is that a motion?
Well, no, that's just a comment. That's just a comment.
Okay, Lynn?
Yeah, the Crawfordville Town Plan, I think, is one of the most important things that we've been working on as a board, as a county. There's a tremendous amount of support for it. It's critical to our future economic development to have a vibrant town center with local businesses, and every business is not going to be on 319, but that doesn't mean they aren't going to be thriving businesses. I think these are perfect locations for the kind of multi-use that we talked about when I did that slide presentation on smart growth. And I agree with Ms. Lawhon. You were ahead of your time. And we've been working toward this town plan gradually, but we're getting very close. We've set up the boundaries, and the next step is to establish incentives. So even though these haven't been selling over the last 9 years, if we do the job that we're supposed to and create incentives to encourage businesses to locate in this area, that should change. And that's one of the reasons we need a planning director or a consultant or whatever to get moving forward on the next steps of implementing our town plan. In addition to economic development, getting a vibrant downtown here is also important to a lot of the other problems we have with sprawl and congestion on 319. We need more people employed here and not commuting. So I think we've made some important steps in the right direction with our town plan. We're just getting started. This is not the time to backtrack, and I really think that's what this would be doing. We need to stay with commercial and maybe even move towards some of the new zoning that we've talked about for this site. But and also just a couple other things. I found it very inspiring that our planning commission was unanimous in opposing this. They don't oppose much and are rarely unanimous. So that to me, they get it. They're on board with the Crawfordville town plan. They see the value in that. And then all of these other signatures from our businesses, local business owners, in the attachments, that was also very moving for me to see that much support from the business community, to see our economic center, our commercial center develop. So I absolutely think we need to keep this zoning C2 or possibly shift to one of the new zoning categories that we're going to be considering.
Alan? I agree with a lot of what Commissioner Arts just said. I know we're talking about putting in a grid system at some point. Hopefully, let's continue to talk towards getting more of a grid to help encourage traffic off of 319 onto the side roads, so they'll see the businesses easier. The new zoning things that we're going to be coming up with in this next year that we can help put in place, I think will help make the property more desirable. The incentives we've talked about, the lower taxing on the intercorp, I think it all works together, and I think that it would be a shame to move this from commercial to residential at this time.
Well, to me, this is probably one of the toughest issues I'll have to deal with, because I know and respect both sides of this issue.
Yeah, very much so.
As far as the town plan, Alan, I agree with you, the grid system, I think Hudson Heights, absolutely, but this is a cul-de-sac. It doesn't really connect anywhere. I'm inclined to put it to residential. That's my position on it. But I would ask if the owners, whoever, could offer some sort of buffer between the commercial property, because I understand Waterley's position too, that he doesn't want to have problems in the future with if Kevin's out there dynoing a motor or whatever and they start calling the cops on him through no fault of his own because somebody now lives behind him. I don't know, is it possible to, Heather, to put something like that in? Or
from your zoning standpoint, I mean, that's more of a site plan issue than a zoning.
Well, we won't have another shot at this, is my understanding, because if it's commercial, there is no site plan review.
That's correct. This would be the last time the board would consider the request and the properties.
But if I may, because I'm on this same train of thought about a buffer as Randy.
Me too.
If we make it residential, RSU1, do we have an opportunity then when it comes before us to put in buffers in? or restrictions?
It won't come before us.
It won't come back before us?
It won't come back before you. The first thought off the top of my head is usually a buffer is incorporated during the time that a property is platted and separated into lots. The separation into lots has already occurred, but if they were willing to consider an amendment perhaps to that final plat to show a buffer, the only course of action I could think of to incorporate a buffer at this point in time.
I mean, I'd go so far as to say I probably wouldn't support it without a buffer. I don't know if that's going to change anybody's mind on whether or not they volunteer to do one. But you can't what?
I don't know that you can,
All they got to do is record an easement, and then boom, you got a buffer.
What I'm asking, Heather, can we legally binding, and if they step up and say, we'll do a buffer, whatever we can agree to here tonight, 25, 50 foot, can we legally binding hold them to that?
What I would recommend is if we want to explore these sort of conditions, that you perhaps continue this till your next meeting and let us thoughtfully get with the applicant and hammer that out and bring it back.
I would ask the applicant, do you have any trouble, excuse me.
Here, Max is going to speak to it.
Okay, if you're going to be speaking, do you have any trouble with a buffer
Pull
on the
mic
back?
up, sir, so we can hear you.
Do not have a problem with creating a buffer. I mean, obviously, there's lots of different buffers. I mean, are we talking about a recorded easement? Are we talking about landscaping, fencing requirements?
In my opinion, I've run into this too many times before in other subdivisions where they say, well, you got to put a buffer here, and there's no teeth on it.
Right.
I'd say we still have a landscape ordinance, correct?
Correct.
And it gives a very specific, this might cost money to plant some trees here, but I mean, it gives like a type 1 or type 2 buffer between commercial and residential, correct? And by changing this, commercial to commercial, the buffer is different than commercial to residential. So we could just simply follow our own rule and say, you need to build whatever buffer is required by our landscape ordinance that separates commercial from residential and put it in an easement. I mean, is that pretty straightforward? I mean, I know that's the way the ordinance was, the landscape ordinance. I don't know if it's changed.
Right, it's not a type 1, 2, or 3 anymore, but it does describe buffers for instances like that.
Separating two non-compatible uses, basically.
The back side of that property already has a lot of trees on it.
Huh?
The back side between the Ace Hardware and the C2, there's already a lot of... Sir?
I think those are Walter's trees.
Okay, hopefully you won't cut them down. Yeah, they're his trees. He can do whatever he wants to with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the property line, we don't know exactly where it is, but it weaves at the edge of that tree line.
Yeah, okay.
And if I could just add, Summer just reminded me that in addition to the landscaping between commercial and residential, I believe there is an 8-foot fence required if you were putting in brand new landscaping between commercial and residential today for a new commercial
What does
development.
Hummingbird Circle have over there that butts up to Winn-Dixie? It's very similar to this. And what do they have behind the Walmart? There's residential behind that Walmart. Lots butt up to it. They have a fence. So that's required to do a privacy fence. Could we somehow put in this that it has to be brought up to whatever standard it is between commercial and residential?
But all of that would occur on these properties in question for the rezoning if they were to change to RSU1.
See, and I mean, why do we want to put a privacy fence in the middle of Crawfordville? I
don't think it is the middle of Crawfordville. I mean, I don't want to disagree with you, but it's...
I mean, this is the perfect place for the mixed use between the commercial and the residential. It's the perfect place for mixed use.
I would think Hudson Heights, or something that already has rows platted in a grid pattern is somewhere we need to look at that. I agree with that 100%, but this is a cul-de-sac. I mean, it doesn't...
Let me weigh in, since it looks like we've got 2-2 so far, and then we'll decide how we want to proceed. But and I respect both sides too, and I feel like I'm caught in the middle here, and literally, what bothers me is that if you look at it, I wish we were, if you took that cul-de-sac and on the right-hand side, all those C2 lots back up to residential.
They do.
And, you know, those folks are going to have the same argument that you have, Walter Lee, about if we put commercial there, then your argument is the same for them as it is for you, except their houses there already. So, but it's all, that's what it is now. They bought there knowing that's what it is, so they have no argument. Now, if we, the other side of that coin is if we make it RSU1 and we do both sides of Commodore Place, then they're going to buy knowing that they're backed up to commercial, which is your facility, and I won't vote for it unless we put a buffer in it. I mean, that's the only way I could see doing it, is put a buffer, have a privacy fence, and I think that's where the road Randy was going down as well. That's what I heard you say.
I'd like to, I like the idea of, you know, I want this ironed out where we can look at it.
I agree.
I want Walter Lee to possibly be involved and look, and maybe they could come to some sort of agreement.
Come on back up, Walter Lee, please. We got to record you. Hate to make you do that, but that's just what we got to do.
You know, the Lawhorns have been my neighbors for as long as I've been here. We're talking, they only got 3 lots on Taft Drive there. We're not talking about all the way down behind my business. Miss Olita and them only have the 3 lots. And so they're not in the ballpark as behind me at all. Their lots is right behind Rascals. They're on the corner. And I don't think anybody would want a house built right there on the corner of that lot. And her agents have contacted me and want to sell the lots for $25,000. I mean, how can you buy a corner lot for $25,000 and put a house on it? And it sits right there at the holding pond of Winn-Dixie. I mean, I hate that the lots are not selling, but the lots don't even belong to them. The FDIC had the lots and sold them or gave them away. I mean, the lots are practically gave away what they bought them for. And, so, I mean, that's, thank you. Not your lots, but all the other 17 were. All the lots run behind me was FDIC sold them. The 3 that, and I would love for you to do something to your 3 lots there on the corner.
Okay.
Your lot's not behind me.
Maxie, you had some comments to that or no?
The buffer was what it was.
Okay. So I agree that I think we ought to, if we can agree to table it, continue it to the public hearing to try to iron it out and make it work. If it can, then I'm for doing it. If we can't get there and make it stick,
Why can't you make a motion and then work on the problem? The only problem you've got is the buffer. That's true. Go ahead and take care of it. I don't want to come back up here again. I've been there enough. I make the motion. I don't want to come back.
Heather, what do you suggest we do? I want it to be binding, whatever we do.
I understand. I mean, what I can say is that I would recommend continuing the public hearing. I understand you don't want to come back, but there are a lot of zoning with conditions is pretty awkward, and we're trying to figure out from a legal standpoint the best way to accomplish this purpose, and I don't know off the top of my head sitting here what we all need to do, what the buffer needs to include. So I would really recommend continuing it so that we can all get on the same page and bring it back in the correct posture.
Is there a standard? Is there a standard that standard
Yes.
buffer that we have in our books between residential and commercial?
You have a landscaping ordinance, and as Melissa indicated, there's a fencing requirement.
Well, then why can't we just follow that, and let that be the?
That's fine. If that's what you say in your motion, and these folks, and that's binding, then that's fine. I want to make sure that we're not going to get challenged.
Well, it's more than just a fence. There's a certain amount of distance, and there's landscaping on both sides of the fence and whatever. So they don't even know what they're agreeing to unless there's time to get specific about the details.
I think we're agreeing to whatever the standards are.
That's right.
And it's not a buffer on both sides of the fence.
No.
It's just a buffer on our side of the fence. And if that's the only problem, I don't understand, Heather, why you're having a problem with it. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, and I could draw it up in just a few minutes. I don't know why you're having a problem with it.
I'm having a problem with it because, I mean, talking to your planning director, it's going to be difficult to enforce this. I mean, we're approving a rezoning tonight. If you decide to go forward, and we're now adding new and additional requirements on top of it.
No, this is a requirement of the change. There's not anything they're having to add. Between commercial and residential, this has to be in place.
If our attorney is recommending that we table the item, I think we should table it.
And I'm asking not to. Because this is just common. It's an everyday thing that you do when you go from commercial to residential.
All right.
I also, Mike, have a question for you, because I remember when we had the comp plan amendment up on 319, and it was a mixed-use development, but it was way outside the Crawfordville town plan, and you approved it because of the commercial. And I remember you saying real clearly, we don't need any more residential. What we need is commercial. And, so I don't understand now here within the town plan.
I can tell you why, Lynn. It's because what I just said. It's in a residential area. I mean, I'm not sure why we approved what we did. We did, and I was part of that process then, but it just, looking at it now, it encroaches into that residential. It's backed up to residential. I wish we could split that road down, and the ones on the right ought to be residential. The ones on the left could remain commercial.
You don't want to do that.
But you still got the same thing. All you got dividing it as a street. So.
But I don't even know this is where I wish we had somebody like John Sewell or whatever who could provide some input, because I don't know that we're even all that committed to necessarily having that street there. It's already in. It's street. Yeah,
been there for years.
Okay. Well, but that it couldn't be reconfigured in a way that makes more sense and have a multi-use as your transition between residential and commercial.
Is there going to be a homeowner association in this?
There is a homeowners association currently in place for Commodore Commons, but because these lots were outside of the residential scope, it addresses in the homeowners documents that these lots could be zoned residential one day, and that at that point restrictions would have to be written specific to those lots. But those lots are in the master HOA documents.
Well, I would kind of like to move on with this if we could. If we could say that whatever the buffer requirements are between commercial and residential. Now, typically it's a business that installs them because they butt up to residential. But in this case, it's a residence going to be butting up to a commercial, so the onus is on them to put that landscape buffer requirement in there, the fence, whatever it's got to be.
And since they're already platted, it's not included in the plat. That's what we've been talking about, is how to enforce this. We don't really have a way going forward to enforce it unless there is either it's gone back and then the plat is amended, or I mean, I know you have done conditions on zonings in the past, but that is awkward to say the least.
Well, and not only the conditions on zoning, but who maintains the buffer. That was the point I was trying to get to. If they plant a tree and it dies, what do they care?
Do we not have if I come into zoning today and I'm zoning residential next to commercial, is there not a standard definition of what I need to do, or is it all over the world, or do we just wander around and make it up as we go? Is there not a standard?
It does allow some flexibility in there as far as the width requirements. It does give you options to choose from for what you can do for a buffer width, and as far as the spacing of the plantings. But there are guidelines set in place in the landscape.
But the big difference, Jerry, is it's a lot different dealing with a business than it is dealing with a homesteaded person's home. You know what I'm saying? They might say, well, I don't like magnolia trees. I hate them. I'm going to cut them down. It's my property.
I understand what you said.
Mary Ellen, real quick, I don't want to debate this all night, but come on, quickly.
Once you change the zoning, there's no way to make it legally binding. You won't have a way.
Okay.
Because you've already done what you needed to do, and you've lost your control.
Okay.
And I disagree with that. I mean, before you pull a building permit, you have to get a development permit application from planning and zoning. This could be made a condition of that DPA, each and every building permit, and it could be a condition of the CO for each individual lot.
Is that not correct? Is that not correct?
We currently do not have residential landscaping requirements, so staff would not typically look at landscaping when someone comes in to do a DPA for a home. If the board decides they would like to go that direction, we could train staff, post the notice to look for that whenever a DPA is being done.
Could we just simply say that as a condition, I know we don't like doing this, but they record a 25-foot easement in favor of the county as a buffer zone, and then they erect a privacy fence?
I mean, I think we would want to have...
What's the difference in doing it right now and coming back in a week and doing it? I mean, 2 weeks.
Because I wanted to be able to talk with your planning department to see what they thought was the buffers coming out of the blue tonight, and we wanted to discuss what we thought would be sufficient. I mean, how tall is the privacy fence? Is there any green area? I mean, there's a lot of questions.
Well, the thing with the green area, Heather, that's hard is that it's a homeowner that's going to be dealing with the green area, not a... If it was a business, it'd be very easy to say, hey, you got to fix your plants. But if it's a homeowner and say, get out of my yard, this is my property. But if there was an easement recorded to the county for, say a 25-foot, and they erect whatever the standard, isn't there a standard height for a privacy fence between residential and commercial?
8 feet.
That's typically put up by the commercial side, like was around Sonic, for example. I don't remember if y'all were around when that was happening, but there was a... So if we can do it like that, I just assume dispense with it.
Just say a 6-foot fence, that the developer of the residential properties will install a 6-foot fence.
I believe the standard is 8.
Okay, I don't want to beat it to death. Whatever the standard says, if it's 8, it's 8.
Yeah, whatever. Hey, it's up to the board.
That's what I would suggest. Require a 25-foot. My motion is.
I move to table this item to the next meeting and direct the attorney to work out.
He was trying to talk. Let's take one motion at a time. He already has started a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the rezoning with the stipulation that the property owners grant a 25-foot conservation easement. I don't know if that's the correct word to put, or a buffer easement between the existing commercial properties on their side of it, and then erect a privacy fence in accordance with the county standards wherever their property touches any commercial property. I know, Walter.
Now, can I second that motion?
Right.
Can I second that? Mm-hmm. I'll second that motion.
Okay.
One question. You said wherever the property touches commercial, if you have a 25-foot buffer along that island of commercial you're going to create, that lot is probably going to be much too narrow to be developed. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yes. I don't know what Forestry Service, if they wanted the buffer, they don't care. Or
they don't want the
I don't think that's their issue.
Mary Ellen, let us talk about it now. We've heard you guys.
I understand that point. So,
and I just want to reiterate. Well, first off, I'm going to join in I have a lot of respect for everybody on both sides of this issue. Also, y'all know that. I think what we're trying to do, what we're moving forward with accomplishing, and where we're going, if we can keep this commercial and we can make the commercial development happen that we've talked about trying to do, that y'all have envisioned, it'll work out really. I think it'll work. Maybe another 2 years, but I'm looking at the map right now. There's plenty of houses. There's spaces. Yeah, I'm just saying again. I think we should leave it as it is, and I think we should move forward with trying to make
Okay.
our plan to move forward.
One more stab at this. Could we require the applicant to form a homeowners association that would be required to maintain this fence, or?
Just don't get it difficult. Let's go with what you had.
Is there an HOA from the original
Why
plan?
are you in such a rush?
I don't.
I wanted to just get
It just looks
Yeah, if
really
there is, I'm not sure that
sloppy.
it's still
This
in
isn't the
effect.
way you go about making important decisions. It just,
Ms. Arts, these C2 lots wouldn't be used in the next 20 years. They're going to be sitting there forever. I wouldn't develop on any one of these lots if you gave it to me.
but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the way, as a board, our attorney has advised us that we should table this item so that we can, because there's not a clear way, and hopefully they would come back to us with maybe even a couple alternatives, but that would have been thought through carefully if this is the direction you want to go. I don't
see a way to
it's
easily resolve.
embarrassing.
I respect our attorney, but it's not always necessary to have the attorney draw your plans. You know, I'm not an idiot. I can, Randy and I and everybody else up here, we can formulate ideas and positions that can go forward that are perfectly within the law.
To come back for approval. once
There's no reason to come back.
All right, I'll just stop this now, then, and withdraw my motion. And actually, I'm sorry, but I think we do need to let's go ahead and get it ironed out, so we're not going to sit here arguing about it all night. But I do support rezoning. I know.
How quickly can it come back to the board? Following, it hadn't got to go back to planning and zoning, does it?
It would need to come back at the next meeting, otherwise it would have to be advertised again.
No.
Well, yes, it will have to do that, but that's okay. We'll bear up under that.
Hopefully some of these issues can be ironed out.
I think I agree with that we need to take a great deal of caution. I just know, and Max, you know too, having set up here, that these are the things that get us in the most trouble is zoning issues, and I'm gonna vote for this to do what you guys want to do, but I want to make sure that we got all of our T's crossed and I's dotted, and that we're doing it the right way, and I can't imagine that changing. I understand, but if I go against her advice and we get sued, then I haven't done my job. So, in a great deal of caution, that's why I'd say let's do what we're going to do here.
Move to continue the item to the next meeting.
Second.
Motion to continue to the next meeting, and a seconded.
Second.
Ms. Art's already seconded. All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Probably good old days.
Okay, we can move right on to there's no general business and commissioner agenda items. I'll tell you what, let's back up since it's 6:30 and do citizens to be heard. Bob Danzy.
Hello, Commissioners. I have come here to ask something of you on behalf of the public. Commissioner Merritt, last meeting, had brought forward an item pertaining to the wetlands, and we didn't get a chance to hash that out. You all voted not even to advertise it, and I just think that's a disservice to the people that are of the belief that it's a little invasive and it's a layer of government that's extra and we don't need it. This ordinance was put in place to do exactly what it's doing, and that's to prohibit some growth, prohibit people from even coming and getting in the mix. It's created nothing but lawsuits. It's only fair that we get a chance to at least hash this out. It's red tape, it's bureaucracy, and it's a problem. I realize you can do some things with variances, and it's probably how we should go about handling some of our issues. Commissioner Brock, you've said that you would be willing to listen to anything, but you voted not even to take this forward to listen to it. I hate to single you out, but it's I'm in a position here where I'm having to ask. There's a lot of support for this issue. I realize they weren't here. I don't think that we had thought that there would be a problem getting it advertised and back to a place where we could come speak our piece. So I'm going to ask you to do that. I asked you to bring this back, to advertise it, and give us a chance. Two of you ran on dealing with these wetlands issues, and you won handedly. And there's support out there for this. So I don't want y'all to be uncomfortable to bring this back up. There are some advantages to getting rid of government bureaucracy, I will assure you. There is some advantages in our community and in a development community. Now, I don't want to hurt anything, and I don't want to hurt any wetlands. But this was put here for a reason, and it's working. A group of people have came in here and tried to stop what was going on. If they would have just not done anything, you know, nature took care of itself. Building stopped, but they've got the brakes put on. You know, we're sitting there with the air brakes on. The truck can't roll. So it's my plea. Thank you.
Simon Nelson.
Good evening. Once again, it's usually I come on behalf of our youth, and it's basically talking about our Parks and Rec. Glad to see we have a new county administrator, and hopefully he's going to be a little more an advocate of the youth. And what we're doing, and why I'm here is, last year, usually with the board we have, they scholarships for those we know it's a financial. During economic times now, it's real bad. And what's going on are scholarships that we give to the families that actually can't afford to play youth football and basketball, those things. Those scholarships been handed. This year, it's doubled. And what we see as the board is that it's practically going to deplete our resources to help. Those are in spring sports, if it so happens. So what we don't want to happen is to tell a family, no, we can't. Of course, family of 3, we can only do 1. To tell the other 2 you can't play. So on what I'm asking, and I know it's one of those things where, you got to rob Paul to feed Peter, that deal. But my whole thing is, can we, and I know you probably you can talk with Brian on this, and I'll probably come from Mr. Edwards, some way, cushion the blow with that, with the board as far as providing for those youth. Ben Withers does a great job of fundraising, does all he can with that. I volunteer my service coaching, refereeing those things, but at the end of the day, for us to tell a kid they can't play because of financial reasons, and yet we can do a lot of things and give discounts, or not even to commercial groups coming in, not having to pay this and having to pay that. But when it comes to our youth, we have to deny them. I just don't agree with that. So, and of course, you guys don't have any idea about it at all. I just found out last week of it myself, so you don't have a clue. But it'll come to you. We'll bring it to you, Mr. Edwards there. So my whole thing is we're just asking for some help with that, because we don't want to turn families away with the Parks and Rec, the board, and whatever 2 groups we have that we just go through dealing with kids. So my whole point of that is just help us out if you can with that. Our whole thing is we do not want to turn kids away. I have 2. I was, of course, I can provide financially, but we have a lot in our county that cannot. So that's all I want. Just make sure when it does come, the whole point is looking out for the kids, and I'm pretty sure all your grandkids and sons or whatever come through the same program, and we were financially able to help them. But that's where it is now. Thank you.
Okay. Howard Kessler.
Evening. Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Just want to make a few announcements, actually. CCAL, Concerned Citizens of Wakulla, has its monthly meeting on the third Thursday of this month, and we've been trying and having success with bringing in county officials and elected officials, and in the future administrative, hopefully soon to come after he gets his feet settled on the ground. Third Thursday of the month, it's the October 20th at 6:30. We begin our socials, and the program begins at 7. For those of you that may have missed it, this place was really hopping this weekend. We had some really good events that took place in downtown Crawfordville. We had a 5K run that used its starting point by Hudson Park and went 5 kilometers through the adjacent area. Large showing. Really proud to see the participation. Funds were raised in that event for the Richard Ray Scholarship Fund, I believe, and there was a golfing event the day prior. There was also a large barbecue that occurred, and that was also just magnificent. Smoke and fire, or fire and smoke, but the barbecue didn't go up in flames. It was delicious, and urge the community to, I'm sure this is going to be an annual event as it starts. It's the second year, I believe, and it'll grow. And I just want to mention also about the library. Everything goes on in the library, but we also have movies at the library. And this Friday, I believe the movie is Win-Win. And it's there for your enjoyment. Thank you.
Bill Russell.
I just wanted to share a little bit of good news. I didn't know Dr. Kessler was going to mention that. We did have our Smoke and Fire benefit, and it was a great success. We fed over 700 people, including Commissioner Brock there, and 2 of our judges are over there, the administrator and the attorney, and we're going to be able to give about $4,000 to the Children's Burn Camp and to the Richard Ray Scholarship Fund. Thank you as a commission for waiving the fees and everybody else that helped. Thank you very much.
Please tell me the attorney got barbecue on her shirt or something.
Good judge. Mary Roberts.
Who won?
Cheryl Ola.
Cheryl Ola, 286 Aaron Road. As an individual, I'm here to speak. I want to kind of thank you for continuing that issue a while ago. I like seeing us work together. You know, maybe I'm kind of here as a citizen and as a tax collector. I think sometimes we're overlooking a lot of things, and I have to agree with some of you. We run into decisions real fast. I know there were a lot of issues on that a while ago that didn't get brought forward, and I think it's things like even when we had the elevator place and it got put in the middle of a residential place, and I think if you go up and look at this place here, I didn't see the first tree and things like that. But what I'm saying is, to rush into issues, I think we need to really think about it. You know, the issue was brought up, it wasn't sold, it had been advertised for commercial. Well, guess what? That guy bought it commercial, it was on commercial, and he bought it commercial. He didn't pay $170-something thousand, he only paid like $103. But we need to look at what it's going to do to our county too, the revenue we're going to lose if we change from residential to commercial. I think there are a lot of things we need to look at like that. And also the fact, are we going to let people start buying land and within 30 days you're asking for the zoning to change? You know, I didn't think that was a practice we were supposed to be doing either. You know, there's a lot of issues, and just looking at it, I agree, I probably wouldn't put a business there, but the point was that's how it was originally set up. They, in fact, made it that way. So I'm just glad to hear that you're all deciding to work together. You know, you set up a commission over here, or, you know, you're planning zoning to make a recommendation, and then they 100% recommended not to do this. And then for us to sit here and hash it around, if we're going to have groups to check things, let's all work together. And I appreciate that, and our attorney brought up a lot of things, and I agree. Sometimes we may not like those issues, but I'm glad that we'll talk up, and I hope we all listen to things like that. And I appreciate what you all do. Thank you.
Okay. Next is the county attorney. I'm sorry, Commissioner agenda items. Commissioner Moore.
Goodness. I think my item, I don't have it up on the screen, was basically to name the sheriff's building in honor of the sheriff. It's to do a motion to pay him the honor of naming his building, giving the name to his building.
Second.
Is it the whole site, Jerry, or just the building itself?
I would say it's the whole site. I'd say the whole site rather than just the building, because it's one complex there.
You want to, I don't want to pick this to death, but there's also a fire training center over there. Do you want to just limit it to the property where law enforcement is?
Just limit it to where the law enforcement would be.
The sheriff's department and the jail?
Probably not the jail. Let's just do the sheriff's department.
Okay.
Well, that is part of criminal justice, I guess. Jail.
Okay, let's start over with a motion. Let me hear your motion again.
I make the motion to name the. I make the motion to that the sheriff's office to approve the name of the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office building site as the David F. Harvey Criminal Justice Center.
Second.
Thank you, man.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I do. And I hope you guys will just kind of listen for a minute or two as I run through my experience with buildings being named after people. I used to live in Birmingham. I lived there 2 different points in time, and the bank that I banked at was in the corner of a medical building that was mostly labs for researchers. And I usually don't pay much attention to the names of buildings, but that one got my attention because it had a really interesting sculpture of the man the building was named after right out front, and it was the Tinsley Harrison building. Now, I had no idea who Mr. Tinsley Harrison was or what he had done, why that building was named after him, and it didn't inspire me to find out. But one day, I went to my bank, and Mr. Tinsley Harrison's name and head had been replaced by the recent past president of the university, which really kind of shocked me. And I felt badly for Mr. Tinsley Harrison and his family, who thought this building had been his memorial. And it also bothered me a little bit that the man whose likeness and name was now in the building was still living. And I couldn't think of really what he had done to deserve this honor. So I started paying a little more attention to when buildings get named after people and why. And one building went up on campus. It was a performing arts center, and it was named after a woman who was dead and whose family contributed a great deal of money to build this performing arts center. That kind of made sense to me. There was another building that was named after a legislator who was still alive and who didn't contribute money, but I think helped to get money. That didn't seem quite as clear to me. Then the other thing that I saw happening a lot in Birmingham was that the head of Health South, you may recognize the name Richard Scrushy, CEO of Health South Corporation, he gave lots of money away, and his name got put on lots and lots of buildings until people found out they were cooking the books at Health South, and he's now in jail. And his name came off at a lot of those buildings pretty quickly. So, in kind of looking through those different examples, I guess I am most inclined, if we're going to, I'm not crazy about naming buildings after people, in part because if a building's going to be around for a long, long time, that'll probably outlive whoever it is you're trying to memorialize. But it seems most appropriate if the person actually gave the money for the building and preferably is dead, and well honored, well esteemed, or whatever.
I don't know if Anita Townsend would like that too much since we named our building after her. But
well, I'm just saying, on the continuum, I guess I would be most supportive of naming a building after somebody if they contributed the money to it and they were deceased. It was part of memorializing their legacy. And I'm least inclined if there's people who are alive and that they didn't actually contribute the money. So
I'll tell you my pet peeve while we're on the subject.
Okay, well, let me just finish. So, and then the other thing is, if I recall, this is now like the third of these kind of naming items that have come up, and you're still in your first year. So I'm a little worried about how many more we're going to see. And I think I need to start taking a stand here, and so as a policy from here forward, because I'm not so crazy about naming things, I'm going to insist that they meet at least one and preferably two of those criteria. Either they paid for the building or they're dead. Okay? So I'm going to vote against this, and I know there are going to be people who interpret what I say incorrectly and, oh, she doesn't like the sheriff or whatever, which isn't true. But and I hope you stop bringing these items.
I was thinking about Ms. Art's name.
Very straightforward criteria, though. I'll give you that.
Okay, so
my pet peeve, is very, very briefly, is us as county commissioners getting our name on a plaque for a building.
That was next.
Oh, no.
No. I'm saying every time you go to county building, you'll see erected in 1992 by Board of County Commissioners, such and such chairman, such and... I mean, those people really didn't do anything. They just happened to get elected that year. But anyway, that's my pet peeve.
I understand a plaque or something, maybe for their office.
And I just want to add a little bit. I think I tend towards maybe where you're accusing Jerry. I think that public buildings, I have no problem naming a public building. Like they point out, we're in the Anita Townsend building is our office. Hudson Park was named for Jewel Hudson because he donated all of the parks. Okay. But in Hudson Park is the Commissioner Voss Plaza, which he's still alive. He is not dead, and he did not pay for it. He was just a person who had been a leader in our community. Sheriff Harvey served Wakulla County for 35 years as sheriff. I think it's a fitting tribute to him. At some point, our community center, I've yet to figure out, it's going to need a name.
Wakulla.
Lynn Arts Community.
Oh no!
I'm just saying there are things out there. I tend towards to be the opposite. I look at a name of a building and see what it's been named and go and try and figure out why and who and what they were. I mean, the age of Google.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, Alan, I gave the land for the lift station.
We will name the lift station for you.
78. And Cleve is wanting to name that sewer lift station after me.
I think that's a good suggestion.
You have to die first, Jerry.
I'm teasing.
I don't want to have to die, Cleve, before I get that named after me.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve it. Where I'm at with it is, the man has, like him or not, he's managed to get reelected for 35 years. And, that says a lot for somebody who can get out and work, campaign, and win an election that many times. I'm not crazy about naming buildings either, but like when we named the building over there after Miss Anita, there was nobody more deserving of that honor. And in this case, is David Harvey deserving? I'd say yes, because of the years he served the county. And he's done a lot of good things for a lot of people. And again, it doesn't matter if you like him or not. He managed to persevere and serve for that many years, and I think this is a worthy honor. And another thing we need to agree on here is, are we going to put up a sign, or are we going to put letters on the building?
I'd say whatever we did for Miss Anita.
Well, we made a plaque and put it on the corner. Is that what y'all want? We need to give some direction to staff, because I don't want us to go spend $10,000 and put up gold letters if that's not what we want.
Let's hold just a day or two on what we put on the building. We can bring that back. Let me talk to a couple of people and see.
As long as it doesn't cost anything.
No, that's what I'm talking about. I don't think David wants us to spend any money naming a building after him. So just let's put a hold on that.
As long as it comes back to the board for approval, whatever that is.
That's correct. I agree with you.
We're agreeing if we vote to do this tonight, then we're agreeing just to rename the building.
Hold on, we gotta. Is that what you're saying? Just a plaque on the building?
Okay.
Okay.
Much like we did with Miss Townsend. Okay.
Is that correct? Okay.
All right. That's
Just
part
like
of the
Miss
motion.
Townsend.
Okay. Any other discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. All right, next item is county attorney. Any items?
No.
County administrator?
Reminder of the October 6th workshop regarding concurrency. 5 o'clock 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Thursday?
This
And
Thursday.
I'm glad to be here. A lot of work to
And
do.
welcome aboard.
Ready to go.
Get ready.
I got something to say when you're finished, when everything's finished.
When we get to these discussion issues, okay. Okay, next is discussion issues. I had 3 I want to get through real quick here. I want to just give it was the last meeting we had some ladies get up here about the Panacea Air water system rate increases. I wanted to clarify that most of that increase, now while PAWS has a $25 minimum for the first 3,000 gallons, they haven't had an increase in years, and they just went up to $25 for that base amount, which is a little higher than the other providers in the county, but mainly because they're in an area where there are a lot of vacation homes, so they have to offset that to be able to provide those folks that don't pay anything but the minimum. The rest of that rate that those ladies were talking about was purely ours, and I wished I should have been smart enough, and all of us should have, but I should have been especially, that it was sewer. They get their sewer and water bill in one, and it's based on their water bill, and our rates have gone up, and they are continuing to go up because we approved a plan to do that over time and to make sewer pay for itself. So I wanted to clarify that for the public, that we weren't trying to pick on Panacea Air water system, that most of that increase is purely the county's amount. The next item is installing an emergency generator at Hickory Park Sewer Station. I hope we can get a motion to do this tonight, because I'd like to get it moving, and this is twofold. One is that we have bought a generator. We have an emergency generator, and it needs to be installed at that particular station because that's one of the most heavily used in volume station at the Hickory Park. And when we lose power, it quickly backs up, and if power doesn't come back, we got a, no pun intended, a mess. The other part is that we've had a family, the daughter had a heart transplant. I know, Ms. Arts, you've been involved in this, and some of the other commissioners, but and I've been talking to them regularly, and one solution to help them, and I'm not suggesting that we're doing it just for them, but to help expedite it, their problem is that the daughter's had a heart transplant and is coming home soon, and to keep the sewer from backing up into their homes, which would pose a real health threat, this could alleviate that problem. But mostly because we need to have an emergency generator at that station. And again, we've already bought the generator. There's about $7,200 worth of cost to put a switching system in so that it would have an uninterrupted power supply to it. And Cleve can talk more about that, but that's my understanding of it. If we can get I would love to have a motion for us to move forward with that and fund that, and Cleve and...
If you don't want to make it, I'll make the motion that
Well, I
we
can't,
installed
but
it. Oh,
go ahead.
okay.
Make sure that there's some stipulations, I think, about sole sourcing and that
We're going to talk
kind of
about that,
stuff.
and I've asked Cleve to clarify all that along with the staff. So, but let's get a motion on the floor first.
Okay, all right, so I move that we install the backup generator at Hickory Park, as long as this is in accordance with our policies.
Purchasing policy, seconded by Mr. Merritt. Now explain how we're going to do that, please.
This generator was bought last year as a portable generator to run 3 major lift stations, the one at Hickory Park, Station 8 in Panacea, and the Medark lift station. Since then, we have approved to go ahead and install a backup generator with a lift station upgrade at Medark, so we don't need to have a portable generator for that station. So if we'd bought this generator originally for Hickory Park, we would have purchased a automatic switchgear that would come with the unit. So when the power source, when you come off the power grid, it would sense that power failure and start up the generator and run the generator. Therefore, the lift station would never be without power, and also the odor control would continuously work. When the power came back on, the switchgear again senses the power change and turns the generator off and lets you go back to normal services. And we have a Caterpillar generator, and they have a product that they would have, if we had bought it as a unit, that would have been compatible with the Caterpillar unit and it controls. So we are in a situation where it would be a sole source, or else we're going to have to hire an electrical engineer to write a very complex set of specifications that somebody may not even can meet. But like I said, if we hadn't made this a portable unit, we would have had the switching gear originally with the generator, which was bought for multi-purposes. And you know, this is something that this station, in all new lift stations, will have. The Jerry Moore lift station will have a backup generator, and the ones we just put into Sop Choppy, the master station, the big station, the one that carries the bulk of the water out of that region or that area, have backup generators. So that'll just leave us with just one station, the one in Panacea, that needs a backup generator, and we'll try to put that in the budget this next year.
Okay. I don't want to beat this to death again, but this is the major repump station. Everything north of Hickory Park, everything that way, including the 2 schools, Wakulla Springs, everything pumps to that station. And basically it's connected to some neighborhood piping. So if that fails, not only do those homes receive whatever they're putting down the toilet, but whatever all those kids are putting down the toilet at the schools at Wakulla Springs. So I've advocated this for years.
Okay. Well, we're where we can do it now. And so do we need anything special in the motion to authorize sole source from that company?
You could just mention that as a friendly amendment to the motion.
So mentioned.
Lynn, you fine with that? Yeah. Okay. All right. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And the last item is, and we'll get the engineer to come on up. I've just been frustrated with this Crawfordville Fire Station 8 that we're months and months into this and nothing's, I don't want to say nothing's happened because you have been engineering it, but I just want a plan to move forward with something on paper, how we're going to get them out of that substandard place they're in now and into a new home. Whatever that is, let's get a plan and let's either agree to do it or not agree.
Yes, sir, I understand. There has been several things that have changed in this project since it came before you. We met with the new administrator this afternoon, and I've been continually meeting with paid and volunteer staff. The plan that we came out with, generally speaking, this afternoon is to perform the minimal rehab Station 8 and allow the volunteers to continue to use that. Look at planning a new fire facility in the at the landfill property. We hope that that will alleviate as many homeowners from higher ISO fire ratings, so their homeowners insurance will go down. And then also work at the Public Works Department at Trice Lane to help alleviate the EMS needs that they have. What we would like to do is put together specific plans on paper with cost estimates and bring that back to you in a workshop if you would allow us.
The big thing, of course, is how to pay for all this stuff. And what really changed in the last couple of weeks is when they went out there and looked at the footers on Station 8, there were no footers, basically. So that, you know, my plan was to raise the roof and this and that, but it's not going to fall down, but I wouldn't go messing with it, is what I'm saying.
I'm just frustrated that it was taking us this many months to figure out that we need to do something different. I wish somebody told me 6 months ago or 8 months ago that let's go do something different. Anyway,
Paying for it is the key.
well, that's fine. Let's get it before the board and let's figure out how to do that. If we can't do it, then we're stuck where we are, and that's fine. But I think we owe the firefighters some answer to where their permanent address is.
I agree. And then the option I had, whether you like it or not, I had suggested a while ago about the landfill, because that captures most of Wakulla Gardens, and we don't have to build a new substation just to capture Wakulla Gardens, and they're not moving that far away from Crawford.
I agree. That's a good idea. And we have land there.
We already own it. And we can make it work with some roads and where it could be both the dump and the...
Okay, so can we trust that you'll get this back on the agenda and... Yes, sir. For us? Okay. Is that fine with everybody?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
And you had something, Mr. Moore.
Basically, I'd just like to welcome Mr. Edwards to the county. I got a little note here I'd like to read to you. Basically, I believe that you are the person to lead the county to a consistent, balanced budget with no new taxes, to lead efficiency in our county administration, to examine our rules and regulations and remove those that restrict business and a person's right to use their property within the rule of law. And that's basically my statement to you, and I hope that we can accomplish that.
Okay. Ms. Arch?
Yeah, I had a couple things. Since you mentioned the family whose child had a heart transplant, and I know some of you saw an email that I guess that Pat Juarez had sent them, but the other thing that happened is I had gotten information from Cleve that has since been sent to them as well, and in addition to this generator, what he outlined is that first they've made some operational changes, so when there is a power failure they shut off things upstream to help reduce what's coming there, and then I guess with some input from our new administrator, they made a decision to put a flapper in that'll also keep things from backing up.
Check valve.
Or whatever.
We talked about that. Cleve and I have a little misunderstanding about that.
Oh, is that not happening now? Or
We're discussing how to do that. So.
Okay. Okay. Well,
they're not the best things in the world on the gravity line. So.
Okay.
Put a
Well.
couple of those in Panacea just for information when people are having problems on a island house.
Yeah.
But it's just a 4-inch check. Yeah. But anyway.
Okay, and then you know, I knew that there was work underway to get a backup generator first, initially just in the close proximity, and then to put it there permanently. And then the last thing is they're changing the media in the scrubber, so that'll help with odor. And the odor doesn't represent a risk to the family, but that was something they mentioned. So anyway, I appreciate Cleve's working to try and address their concerns, as well as our health director.
We're going to address the odor at MedArt too, I assume.
That's part of that program with the backup generator is odor control for that station.
And MedArt.
Yes.
Okay, two other things, one related to the farm and one related to the community center. I know you all probably got a letter from the farm from the president of the homeowners association wanting us to bring that back. In my communications with residents at the farm, though, there hasn't been this further discussion that they were hoping for a meeting or whatever. So until that happens, I'm not planning to bring it back. Also, with the community center, it's my understanding that now that they're aware of the sheriff's office coming in to one of the buildings, that their inclination is to probably hold off on programming until the sheriff's office moves out. Even though they were willing, apparently, to do something, that they want to hold off.
When you say they, do you mean the YMCA?
The YMCA would rather wait until, But I think I personally would like to see Volunteer Wakulla moved in there and try to get some other programming, local programming initiated there. So, you know, I hope you all are on board with that so that at least the other building is being used in the meantime.
Volunteer does sound free.
We've already approved Volunteer Wakulla moving into the community center at a former meeting. It's just I think initially we imagined putting them in the old church offices where the sheriff's department is, and now they would probably need to be in one of the office spaces at the sanctuary.
Right.
So I don't think anyone's changed that direction.
No, I think it's going to take our attorney and administrator working out an agreement, you know, between them about what they're going to provide in exchange for the space, and then having them get going with scheduling and identifying additional providers who can offer activities in the meantime.
Okay.
On Lynn's previous item about the farm, someone gave me a signature list of 45 signatures asking us to not make any decision until after that the farm has had a full homeowners association meeting. And so...
We're hearing the same thing.
Okay. Randy, you said you had some...
I'll give this.
I wanted to touch on a couple of quick things. One, in the consent agenda, you'll find that there are copies of the Wakulla County Coalition for Youth meeting minutes. They've asked that I bring that to the board for review and just keep up. Unless anyone ever has any questions, you can pull it off the consent agenda, but I'm just going to have it directly going there monthly. I want to mention today was the first day of curbside garbage collection in Wakulla County. At 4:30, there had been no complaints today, but there are still 2 more weeks. There are still 2 more weeks to file and work with assistance if you're looking for assistance, hardship assistance. Also, I want to mention, I know some of the things we've been talking about recently in Wakulla County, our new public service tax, our communication services tax. I have a cell phone, and when I got my cell phone, I was in college, and I lived in Tallahassee, and I had never really looked at my bill. And last week I looked at my bill, and it was still billing me the City of Tallahassee and Leon County taxes, plus Wakulla County taxes, because they had 2 addresses down for me. They had never got rid of my college address that I lived at 8 years ago. So they gave me back a credit for 2 years, that's as far as they'll go. So that was nice. It was $4, so it was an extra $100 off my cell phone bill, for 2 years. But I recommend, I know a lot of people have moved down to Wakulla County and moved from other places, just to double check your bill and see what cities and counties are listed. I didn't expect to see Tallahassee on there. So, helpful tip.
You deserved it, the double billing.
Thanks. Thank you.
Been at Tallahassee.
Go ahead.
2 quick items. Heather, I wanted to just talk to you and maybe get a consensus from the board on, Heather sent me this draft of the accessory use and marine. You know, we talked about allowing people to put boat ramps, brook docks on their property without a house on it. And Heather, if you don't mind, what it says is placement unallowed on vacant lots, contiguous. This was one of contiguous. If applicant either offers unity of title, does that mean replat the lot, or that just means?
It means that they would give up the rights to sell off that. If they want to put an accessory, for example, you have a house, you want to put a guest house on the lot next door that you're using as your yard, you would have to do a unity of title. You would give up the rights to sell off that lot to somebody else.
Which is a replat. The only way you can do it is replat it, though, right?
It's not, well, there are some other ways to do it. It depends on the specific type of property that you're talking about.
For discussion purposes, what if you want to put up one of those metal carports? This would also apply to that, correct?
Yes.
All right. That's the whole thing I wanted to avoid, was having to give up all your rights for a metal carport. Can you explain to me what a restrictive covenant and eliminating any principal uses of the contiguous lot?
It would serve the same purpose, basically. What you're trying to do is prevent somebody from putting up, a large shed and then selling off a piece of property that just has a shed on it in a residential area.
And the restrictive, now, does it still stay in here that they can't have their own power meter?
No, this took the place of that. Because the power meter...
It's just my opinion, guys, and that's why I want to talk about this now. I'd rather make this as absolutely simple as possible. Basically, if you own the lot, contiguous to your lot. If you want to put a shed or whatever on it, you can. You just can't have a separate power meter. I appreciate what Heather's doing. She's definitely looking out for us. I'm afraid this makes it pretty... Is it easy to file restrictive covenants? I mean, is it something they could do in the planning and zoning office, and then they could be rescinded at any time? Permanent.
They would have to be. They would have to come back to the county to get permission to remove it.
Randy, what about if
This is where I remember I said that if you own 2 lots in Wakulla Gardens and you've got a house on one and you want to put a shed on this one.
But what are we talking about changing? What's the document?
This is just the draft. Heather added this language to, in the utmost of caution to protect us, and I just think it may go a little overprotection. No offense.
This isn't anything you guys have seen yet.
No.
So.
Okay.
But
that's what I'm...
while we can talk about it, I just wanted us to talk about it.
We'll talk about it at some point. Won't it come before us?
It will have to come. It will have to come back to be advertised for.
I agree with you. That's overkill.
That's kind of what I was just. That was.
What draft is it?
First draft, I guess.
That's the draft of the... What ordinance is it?
if somebody builds a barn...
Redoing the county code as applied to accessory uses. Now let me... And another part that was not changed, but I had suggested we allow people to put docks and boat ramps or whatever on vacant lots. And this draft one says no boat ramps, dry dock facilities, gasoline, fuel pumps, or parking facilities are permitted accessory uses to the lot. I think that may be...
Well, that's already been changed.
Okay, so that's been taken out?
Yes.
That was my point. I guess my big stickler now is I want to make it as simple as possible. I don't think we can cover every single contingency in writing, is my point. If somebody slips through a crack, Lord help us, and they sell a lot with a shed on it, then I don't think it's the end of the world.
Well, I mean, maybe a lot with the shed on. I mean, this is...
I understand the guest house, maybe that's different.
And I don't fully understand. So I'll have to get more information.
But I just want to maybe you at least, nothing else, y'all look into it and read it and tell what you think.
I haven't seen it.
Right.
How'd you get it?
Heather sent it to me. Her and I have been working on this.
Okay.
He brought the item back to the commission to ask staff to bring this forward, so I've been working with Commissioner
Not a big secret or
Well, y'all work it out then. You and her
I just
work
want to get y'all's thoughts on it. That's why, and I can't call you and say, hey, Mike, what do you think about this? This is the only time I can talk to you.
I'm glad you fixed the vacant lot on the water.
Yes. Next one, the impact fee. Alan, this is you. I talked to Will, and I'm going to try to get with Greg maybe at the courthouse maybe in the next few months. Sit down, they can look over all my math, because I know if I come to you and say I think the fire impact fee needs to be, or I think the library impact fee needs to be $140, with what it is now, you probably say you're crazy, get somebody else's opinion, or we want to pay somebody to tell us that. I don't support paying somebody to tell us that, but maybe we can get a few county people together and look at what I've done, and if maybe at least if they agree, maybe we as a board will take it a little bit more seriously.
And just on that note, I know one of the things that Mr. Dancy brought up at past meeting was he'd like us to bring back each one individually. I'm indifferent on it, but if you do finish coming up with an impact fee that you think we should bring back, and you're feeling it's going to take you months to go through all of these, feel free to bring one back.
I could bring up all of them right now, but the Sheriff's Department's the one that's giving me the most grief, because things have changed so much from the original impact fee study, which was whenever it was. More vehicles, more fleet, more square footage. The library, parks, those are pretty straightforward. You go in and look at comps from what land have sold. The library is probably the easiest one.
So
I think it was what it was, whatever the maximum was.
Okay. So if there's something like that you want to bring back and say, bring back the library impact fee, I'd be glad to entertain one-on-one.
Well, you don't run me out of here, so we should come up with these numbers from it.
We can't run you out. We'd like to, but...
Okay. Not for another 3.5 years.
So, okay.
Heather, did that give you any direction on that accessory use, or make it harder?
It got me direction that they wanted to talk about it more, I guess.
Y'all want me to work it out, I can work it out. I didn't know what y'all thought.
I'm supportive of what you want to do.
As long as we're all simplicity, that's
simplicity.
If it doesn't cover every single contingency in the world, then so be it.
Commissioner Mayor, it might be helpful if I send you a sample unity of title. You can see what it takes. It might answer some of your questions.
If it's something you can go in the planning department and do, and then a couple of years later you decide to tear that shed down and sell a lot, and you can go and undo it without having to come before a board of county commissioners.
And it is.
Then I'll probably be fine with it. as long as it's simple.
One last thing, this picture on our little pamphlet of the United Way is one of the commissioners. I'm gonna leave mine up here so it'll keep the roaches away. And anyway.
Thank you, sir.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We're done. Thank y'all.